welcome to this Clarion webinar. Today we're looking into how in-house legal teams can select the right AI tools. The UK legal tech market is evolving rapidly, and making the right choice is crucial for efficiency, compliance and strategic advantage. I'm joined today by Matthew Hattersley. He's our head of our data protection and IT team. Hi Matt.
Hi.
I'm joined by Mel, who's our head of operations, and Becky, who's project delivery lead. And both Becky and Mel are part of our Clarion AI and innovation team. Matt, can you start us off today, please, by talking us through your approach to identifying AI use cases?
That's a great question. And I thought when we first took on a proper legal AI product that the AI use cases would be really easy to deploy. What we found is that it's a lot harder than that, because the amount of work that's required before you even start to apply an AI to a standard process is immense, and clients need to understand that the product you're going to get out at the end will not be the same as a human reviewed product. It might in fact be a lot more detailed, it might make work harder, it might make negotiations longer. The thing it might be able to do is speed up that first stage. What we're trying to do is find ways of making those types of products more usable for clients, whilst also taking account of not trying to extend the overall process by being too clever at the beginning.
Yeah, understood. Thanks. Clearly, the marketplace can be overwhelming. So, perhaps come to you now. How should teams approach it?
You're right, the market is overwhelming. We certainly found that when we started. There is just so much out there. There are so many tools that you're constantly being marketed with. Some are very broad, have broad applications, some are very narrow. And I think it's really important that you do look at the market and understand what tools are out there. But I also think you really have to start with understanding what your use cases are. And the conflict there is that you don't really know what your use cases are until you start working with AI. So our decision, our recommendation was that, we started trialing AI. We picked 2 or 3, in fact we've advanced to several tools now that we trial in various teams with great AI champions in all the teams, to start actually playing with AI, to see what the art of the possible is, to then understand how that will impact your work flow, the type of work that you're doing, whether it's litigation, commercial, contract, corporate, whatever. But it's really, really important that you keep your eye on the market, because it's ever evolving. Not just the tools that are out there that are constantly developing and becoming better, but more tools are coming onto the market every day. And it is incredibly difficult keeping a track on all of that. Using resources like the Legal Tech Hub directory, you can filter by use cases and by requirements to identify tools that may be the best ones to start trialling with.
Right.
Yeah, I think your point about use case is really interesting. I find that at the moment our team is using AI several times a day. We have a specific legal AI product and we have a general AI product as well. And we use it as a tool. We use it like practical law, but practical law be a much faster, more dynamic version of it. We use it for drafting, we use it for ideas. And those are things that are very hard to translate to the outside world, but I think an in-house team would find those types of assistance in the background really helpful.
Yeah, that's useful, Matt, thank you. Perhaps coming to you, Becky, what are the key considerations do you think when choosing an AI tool?
I think from a practical implementation perspective, one thing just to try and become aware of is the different licensing models that exist across the different AI products. There's 3 main ones that they typically fall into. There's enterprise-wide licensing, there is a per license, per seat licensing model, and then a cost per usage license model. They've all got different pros and cons when it comes to scalability, affordability, security. Enterprise-wide are typically the most secure forms and allow you to do integrations with other products. But really it's down to your company, your firm, as to what suits you, your risk appetite and your long-term strategy for these products. But I just think it's really important that people understand those different models are out there and pick what's right for them.
And I think the other thing that's really quite important is a lot of these tools are US developed. So you've got to really look out for, have they adapted their output and their training for UK jurisdictional content. So that's a really important thing to look out for as well.
I think something else for me, just from a more technical perspective, is that a lot of us have very complex technical stacks within our organisations already, lots of different software applications. And as we all know, we're all very busy people, and it's important that you meet the user, the lawyer, where they are. So integration with your existing software systems is ideal if that's something they offer, and a lot of the bigger AI products are doing that with your document management solutions. So just being aware, talking to your operations team, your tech team, and just understanding where do these products fit within your existing workflow so you can meet the lawyer where they're operating.
And you're dealing with a lot of suppliers, and
Lots.
and what in your, you must have met some good ones and some bad ones, and what makes a good one?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing I can say to this point is it's a partnership. They're not just a supplier, you're not just a client, you know, this is new for everyone. It takes a lot of, you need frictionless adoption with your users, so lots of ongoing training needs to be offered. You need to understand the supplier's product roadmap, so these products themselves are changing week in, week out, and you need to have that open line of communication to understand what's coming down the line in terms of feature sets. You know, typically you're investing a lot of money into these products, and you don't want to use just 25% of what it can do. So I think a very strong partnership between yourself and the supplier is key. I would always recommend doing a trial, and a good AI supplier should offer a free trial ideally, so that you can understand how to use it. Is it right for you and your organisation? Yeah, biggest takeaway is it's a partnership, not just a supplier-client relationship.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful.
Can I ask a question? Because when we've spoken to in-house lawyers at some of our events, they found it easier to buy products from people who are in their existing tech stack. And we can all think of businesses who we use for legal products, or maybe general products. Microsoft, great example. And is it a sensible idea just to leap on their AI product and adopt that? Because it is an easier route, I imagine, to get that into an organisation.
It's a safer route.
Yeah.
But typically I think, well, for our existing sort of tech suppliers, those are the broader AI tools. So you're talking about Microsoft Copilot, you're talking with Thomson Reuters about CoCounsel, whereas actually some of the more niche tools delivered into the right teams in the business can offer more value because they're more bespoke, they're more trained to deliver the use cases that those particular teams are looking for. So it's definitely the safer option, I think, because you know that supplier, you've got that relationship already, but I'd say be a little bit more adventurous as well and look for tools that perhaps answer a few more of your use cases specifically.
Yeah, interesting, thank you.
And on the subject of being adventurous, what about regulation, and what do we need to be mindful of when we think about that side?
So regulation's a minefield, isn't it? Because it's evolving. Again, it's a little bit like the whole AI market, everything's evolving. You've got GDPR, you've got the EU AI Act, nothing specific in the UK at the moment, so you do have to keep your eye on that, and the Law Society have an AI and tech hub that you can monitor the regulatory sort of evolution as it continues. You've also got the SRA, you've still got that requirement to act with honesty, integrity, to act in the client's best interest. There's some talk at the moment that potentially not using AI may not be in the client's best interest, so that's something that's worth keeping an eye on. But I think the overarching thing for me, the thing that we've really taken away, particularly some of the things we've seen in the news recently, is that no matter what AI tools you use, yes, you have to comply with the regulation, but you always have to have a human in the loop, and you always have to have a human on the hook. And AI will never ever replace that requirement for either strong supervision or making sure the right people are using the tools.
Yeah, thank you. A bit about data protection, Matt. What data protection issues should teams watch out for in supplier contracts? Also, in your own T's and C's, what do you need to think about when you start using an AI product potentially?
Well, there's two or three things. It kind of flows on really from what Mel was saying about regulation. From a data protection perspective, I think it's fairly straightforward. You obviously need to carry out a proper review of the data protection terms that come with an AI product, and we've spent quite a lot of time doing that with a lot of products. Internally, we'll also need to conduct a data protection impact assessment to try and weigh the value of using the AI product against the danger of processing personal data. So those are kind of the very legal things, and actually you need to speak to either your own regulatory team or external lawyers to make sure that you get that right. But I think linked to that, there's the question of open and closed AI systems, by which I mean an example, ChatGPT is typically open. You put data in, and personal data in, it's going to get somehow absorbed magically into the AI-sphere, a word I've just made up. And
Excellent word.
thank you. And whereas we have other products that are specialist AI, or indeed we've paid fully licensed versions of, I think Copilot from Microsoft, gives you a closed space in which your information is not shared with the wider AI community. Even though it's blended out, it still exists in that further thing. And what's interesting is that the question of privilege comes up in that context. And if you're effectively disclosing information into an open AI, it looks like at the moment you could be considered to be losing your privilege, which makes it critical to have invested in a closed AI system, which at the moment the SRA seems to be happy with. So I think those are important regulatory points. And you also mentioned terms and conditions.
Yeah.
You do need, we as lawyers need to include within our terms and conditions the fact that we are using AI and explaining not in great detail, but explaining in some detail what that means. As an internal as an internal resource in the in-house community, maybe your approach is different. You don't have terms and conditions with the business, and maybe what you're needing to do there is have in place guardrails for the rest of the business, so that they know what you're using AI for, but also you're telling them what not to use AI for in a legal context. Otherwise, my experience is people using AI in business without having real experience of what they're doing ends up costing more time for the person who gets that half AI solution that someone thought was a good idea but actually wasn't. So there's a lot to think about.
Well, thank you. That's full rundown. I think this has been a bit of a whistle-stop tour.
There's so much to talk about
there is a
in
lot
this
to-
sphere.
Yeah, absolutely. But like key takeaways in terms of what teams should be looking at in their AI journey, Matt?
My biggest thought is just try it, and the use cases will gradually start to emerge, but it won't emerge immediately. It will come through trial and error, and as you work out what is working for you.
Matt, what do you
I actually think that senior stakeholder engagement is really, really important when you're starting this kind of journey. I think you need to make sure that everybody's engaged and on board. I think that's one of the biggest challenges we have as a private law practice. We're blessed at Clarion because we have great senior stakeholder engagement, and we are always communicating with the business and getting their engagement, trialling the products, etc. I just think that's key. Without that buy-in from the teams using it on the ground, and also the sort of the management board really kind of supporting it, you're going to struggle. And it's really important to have that level of support, because that's going to make the project either a success or not at the end of the day.
Key takeaway from your perspective, Becky?
On a practical level, it's the right product selection isn't just about the feature set I mentioned earlier. It's about where it fits in your existing tech stack. It's the partnership with the supplier and meeting your colleagues, your users, your lawyers where they're currently working. So just stuff to bear in mind.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks to all three of you. It's been
Thank you, John.
a brief but engaging session. And thank you to everyone for joining us. We hope you found that useful as a brief run through. For those who are starting or continuing on their AI journey, if you feel you need some help with that, then then please contact any one of the four of us, and we can help you with a policy review or the general implementation thoughts that we've got, some of which we've shared with you today. Thank you.